One's ready. One's ready. Go!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. This is your daily drop for the 13th of May. Doing it in person this time. That's a little new. Instead of doing it, on a what I actually use is a DJI microphones, little wireless microphones, and I'm in the office or I go out into my car and I do the recordings real quick while I got a quick break. And I am in fact still working today, but I figured that I would hop on here real quick during my lunch break just to give you guys the daily drop. So if you're new here, what this is the Department of the Air Force curates Department of Air Force Public Affairs curates a list of news articles that they send out to commanders and chiefs. However, finding out yesterday that apparently not everybody is on that. So maybe I'm lucky or whatever, but so I'll just keep being lucky, I guess, for now until they decide to stop sending this. And then I actually got to put in some real work to get you guys the news. But before that, we have 4 slots left for the Operator Training Summit that's coming up 21 and 22 June in San Diego. 4 slots left. And I think I let 5 or 6 more people into the chat today. So if you are interested, there are still spots. Just because the way you secure it is not by joining the chat. Payment is what secures your spot. And then once we hit 40, that's it. And we're not taking any more. And then we're going to kind of clear out the chat and then it's going to get down to business. So if you are interested, reach out to me, JARED @onesready.com, or leave a comment with your email or comment, and I'll shoot you my email address, and then I'll get you a link into the chat. So, all right, we're going to start off with joint news. The Cyber Mission Force expansion. The DoD has established 12 of 14 new Cyber Mission Force teams across the Air Force, Army, and Navy commands, with 2 more planned in the coming years. These teams enhance the existing 133 team structure, which includes cyber defense, combat mission, homeland defense, and support roles, while the Space Force explores forming a cybercom component. I'm kind of surprised. The Space Force does have a cyber aspect to it, and the reason why is because they have sent cyber folks through the space weapons instructor course or weapons advanced instructor course or space advanced instructor course, and then they have also sent space folks through the cyber weapons instructor course and the advanced instructor course. So I know there are members within the Space Force that deal with cyber stuff. I guess they just haven't formed their own command for it, is kind of the biggest thing there. Arctic NATO exercise with ground troops. The U.S. soldiers and Marines participated in NATO's Formidable Shield 2025 exercise in Norway, incorporating ground-based air defense to counter drones and low-altitude threats. The exercise formed by the Russia-Ukraine war, or the exercise is informed by the Russo-Ukraine war, and that is Russo. I'm not messing up. It's RUSSO-Ukraine war. Aims to improve NATO interoperability and address U.S. gaps in mobile short-range air defense. So I've actually never heard of Formidable Shield exercise. When Aaron and I used to go to Norway, it was always, of course I've forgotten it. Cold response, exercise cold response. And that we had all kinds of countries there, Spain, Norway, the U.S., and it was so much fun, great exercise. I would love to go back to Norway and do one of those exercises again, or just go to Norway in general, because it's amazing. It's beautiful there. All right, commercial military satellite network growth. The Defense Innovation Unit added over 12 companies to its hybrid space architecture initiative, expanding the commercial military satellite network through cost-sharing agreements. This rapid integration of commercial innovators aims to solve complex DoD challenges efficiently, as highlighted by Major General Steve Bateau. Patau. Okay, cool. I don't know anything about that. You guys know this well enough to know that I know jack and squat about anything related to space, except my own opinions that I really, really like space and think it's really cool. All right. Halt on gender-affirming care. The DoD is discontinuing gender-affirming healthcare, including surgeries and new hormone therapies for transgender service members as part of the ending their service terms. This policy affects approximately 4,200 transgender troops amid declining public support for their open service since 2019. 4,000. That's not one, that's not that many people. Two is that's actually more people than I expected. And I wonder how, when we start talking about percentage rates of, because this is not just Air Force, this is DoD, right? So 4,200 people, DoD. How many people are in the, let's check this out. Let me hit Grok up. How many people, or how many service members are in the DoD? All right, Grok. Let's see what you come up with. As of February 2025, the Department of Defense has approximately 1.31 million active duty service members across its branches. Army has 449, Navy has 336, Air Force has 318. That's a low number. I don't think that, at least for the Air Force number, I don't think that one's accurate. I think it's off by about 30,000. I think we have right around 348,000, I believe. Marine Corps 169,000, Space Force 8,000. That's about right. I think they might be up to like 9,000 now. And then you start talking about, additionally, there are about 762 reserves and National Guard members, bringing the total military personnel to roughly 2.07 million. The DoD also employs around 728,000 civilian employees or civilian personnel, contributing to a total workforce of approximately 2.8 million. Man, you were talking about some very, very low numbers there, percentage-wise. So not that it doesn't matter to those service members, because obviously it impacts them and they care. And, their leadership should also care, whether they agree with them being in service or not. They're still people. So, yeah. All right. Migrant flights to Guantanamo. U.S. Transportation Command spent $21 million on 46 flights to detain migrants at Guantanamo Bay from January to April, averaging $26,277 per flight. Additionally, $1.6 million was allocated for civilian airline contracts to transport supplies and equipment to the facility. I don't know if I'm just guessing what you guys are thinking. $21 million for 46 flights. Seems like a lot of money. Yeah, it's expensive to operate these C-17s and these C-130s. But $21 million is kind of a drop in the bucket when you start talking about like how much these illegal migrants cost the taxpayers at a federal level and a state level. And then what is one person's life worth when somebody's already broken the law and they shouldn't be here anyway? And then they, murder, rape, manslaughter, anything like that. Like 21 million is a small price to pay. All right, Air Force news. Fighter rotations at Misawa. The Air Force will rotate fighters through Misawa Air Base in Japan to maintain Pacific mission readiness as F-16s are retired. The 35th Fighter Wing will transition to 48 F-35s starting in spring 2026, though rotational forces may face competing demands from other commanders. As in, so this is the Pacific. Oh, man. It doesn't matter whether I'm in person or whether I'm sitting in the car. I'm still fumbling over my words. Okay. What they mean by competing demands from other commanders is other combatant commanders. So you start talking about Central Command, EUCOM or European Command, especially when you start talking about the Russian-Ukraine war, right? That there are requirements from that combatant commander from EUCOM or European Command, and then other things like Central Command, which is dealing with things in the Middle East. So you start talking about, other things that we still have going on in the Middle East. And then what I don't know is like with the Pakistan Indian kind of thing that's going on that we're kind of also involved in, is that what I don't know is where that line is, where it, because Pakistan is definitely Middle East. What I don't know, and maybe it's definitely my own ignorance, and maybe I should know it, but I don't know where that line in the sand is that then goes, okay, well, this is now, because India is considered Asia. So is that now the Pacific? So, and don't think that there's not cross command things that go on, right? Now, it all depends on who owns the battle space and that kind of stuff, but there are cross command things that are going on in that kind of communication piece, because things that, impact, let's just say like Egypt, right? Considered the Middle East, but it's on the continent of Africa, right? So, which Africa Command is in charge of, right? Same with Somalia and that kind of stuff. So it's like a weird kind of dance that they've got to do in the combatant commander. So that's kind of what they're getting to, is that, hey, yeah, this is great for 48 F-35s to come over in the spring of 26 to Japan, but there's other things going on in the world, and maybe that doesn't happen. So that's kind of what they're getting at there. All right. Polish F-35 pilot training. The 85th Fighter Group at Ebbing Air National Guard Base graduated its first Polish F-35 pilots, marking initial operational capability and strengthening Allied interoperability. The program will expand to train pilots from other European and Indo-Pacific nations, fostering trust and operational bonds. Cool, man. Congratulations. Retirement order delay clarified. The Air Force's temporary pause on issuing retirement and separation orders is not a stop loss and will not affect approved separation or retirement dates. The delay aimed at managing FY25 budget shortfalls, ensuring orders are issued within 90 days of separation or 180 days of retirement. I mean, I'll tell you what, this caused a lot of stir, and everybody that lived through stop loss in 2003, I think it was 2003. There were a lot of people that ended up stop loss. And if you're not familiar with what stop loss is as you're an active duty member, if you want to separate because you've done 6 years and you're like, yeah, I want to move on to something else, I want to go to college or something like that, outside of the military, you weren't allowed to leave. You had to continue serving. Same with retirement. If you wanted to retire, sorry, we're at a stop loss. You can't retire. Ooh, sorry about that. So that's kind of where, like, that's what piqued a lot of people's interest, is they're like, oh man, we've seen this before. This wasn't a good thing. Like, we don't like this. And so that kind of spooked some people, but it looks like they walked it back and that kind of stuff. And to the budget shortfalls, you've heard me talk about it on here. I don't know what's going on in 2025. I don't know it's because we keep getting this continuing resolution or whatever it is, but this year, other than 2013 during sequestration, fiscal year 25 has seen some just detrimental financial talk within the DoD and the Air Force is. I mean, I got to imagine. I can't speak for the Army and the Navy and the Marines and Space Force, but I can tell you right now, the Air Force right now is in a flat spin, heading out to sea. Not great right now with its budget. Plus, we're trying to onboard the B-21, trying to onboard the F-47, trying to onboard the 2 new CCAs, or the Collaborative Combat Aircraft. Like, this stuff isn't cheap. Also, it's Department of the Air Force. So, we also fund the Space Force as well. And we've talked about it before. Space Force itself is only 3% of the entire DoD budget. And these dudes are trying to send things into space. And these satellites aren't cheap. So, the budget thing is a real thing. And Air Force Personnel Center, who is the ones that are in charge of cutting orders and funding moves and funding shipments and that kind of stuff of your household goods, they broke. They ain't got no money. So, yeah, it's hurting right now. All right, next. Rapid deployment for Israeli defense. Airmen from the 335th Fighter Squadron deployed from North Carolina to the Middle East in days, engaging Iranian drones and missiles. Within 22 hours of arrival, the F-15E Eagles used unconventional weapons, loadouts, and supported RAF Typhoons, Royal Air Force Typhoons, expending their payload in 45 minutes. Man, they were getting busy. Good job, whoever those Strike Eagle pilots were, and the Typhoon guys. I'm not going to leave you guys out. All right. Olympian joins the Air Force. Olympian Anita Alvarez, who nearly drowned in 2022, joined the Air Force's world-class athlete program to train for the next Olympics while serving. The program offers her a unique opportunity to represent the Air Force and pursue her athletic career simultaneously. I remember seeing pictures of this. She had drowned. Her coach jumped in and was pulling her out. There's all kinds of pictures of it. If you guys aren't familiar with the world-class athlete program or WCAP, we've had Lieutenant Colonel, I think he's wearing Lieutenant Colonel now, Chris Walsh on. He was doing the Air Force bobsled team, and I think the Air Force, not rally car racing team, but whatever that level of race car team was. And then also Matt Beach, who was a combat controller. I think he went and did the bobsled team as well, or something like that. Like he was looking into getting the WCAP. So we've had quite a few people do it. And it's what a great program. You get to join the Air Force, you get paid, and you get paid to train to then represent the Air Force and do a, freaking sport like at the Olympics. Who doesn't want to go represent their country at the Olympics? All right, next, Space Force news. U.S.-Italy Space Security Agency. The U.S. and Italy signed an agreement to enhance interoperability between the U.S. Space Force and Italian Air Force, boosting collective space security. The Space Force is also planning ground relay station. The Space Force is also planning ground relay stations in the United Kingdom to support the next generation overhead persistent infrared program. NGOPI. Okay. I don't know what that is. Next generation overhead persistent infrared program. Okay, so that is obviously some kind of GEOINT, IMINT. There's probably some SIGINT involved in there. And if you guys aren't tracking what those are, it's SIGINT, so signal intelligence. And so like when you see human intelligence and that kind of stuff, there's a whole bunch of INTs, INT. And the reason why I'm not mentioning the other ones is because I don't know for sure to 100% accuracy of what the first half of that acronym means. So I'm saving myself from it. But you guys know that because I'm pretty transparent about what I know and what I don't know. All right. Delegated authority for counter space operations. The Space Force and Spacecom have delegated some anti-satellite weapon control to lower levels, accelerating decision-making for offensive counter space operations. Despite progress since Spacecom's 2019 establishment, some officials believe further delegation is needed to enhance responsiveness. This should be everything, though. Everything should be pushed down to a lowest level as possible. That way you can quickly make a decision and go for it. Now, does that mean that I need a senior airman to have the authority and the final call to whether they're moving a satellite that costs a lot of money to get up there and we're limited in terms of its lifespan, how often we can move it, especially if we start talking about anti-satellite weapon control? Like, we do need to push it down to a low level. I would say probably 05, 06 is the lowest you want to go. Maybe an 06 is probably the lowest you want to go, but it's a good thing. All right, next. Hold on, let me drink some of this Kill Cliff. I think we have I'm pretty sure we have a promo code for it. I don't remember what it is. I think it's podcast KC20 or something like that. All right. Cloud-based ground station marketplace. The Space Force awarded contracts to 2 Colorado firms to develop a joint antenna marketplace to address ground control station shortages for the satellite control network. The initiative, alongside the Satellite Communication Augmentation Resource Program, aims to support the growing number of space missions. Cool, man. All right, these are of interest. Taiwan tests HIMARS, HIMARS. What does that stand for? Obviously, I know it is. It's the trucks, and Gimlers are the tracked version of it, but they're the vehicles that pop up, shoot off 6 missiles, or 1 attack them. But man, dude, okay, I got to tell you what it is, because the guys, I will never hear the end of it if I don't tell you what it stands for. It's like high mobility artillery rocket system. Good God. How do you know you're irrelevant? You don't remember what HIMARS stands for. Anyway, back to what it actually is. Taiwan tests HIMARS. Taiwan successfully test-fired U.S.-supplied HIMARS rocket systems capable of striking mainland China during a military exercise. The test followed Chinese military patrols near Taiwan, demonstrating Taiwan's resolve to protect its security, as stated by the officer Ho Haising Ya. I mean, why wouldn't we have HIMARS over there and Gimlers over there? Like, especially if they're able to reach mainland China, like, seems like a no-brainer to me. And we have a lot of HIMARS that we can at our disposal. So, and it's, when you start talking about HIMARS, it's pretty cost-effective. Like, let's see, how much does a single HIMARS, geez, rocket cost? Let's see what that comes up with. Approximately $165K per rocket. That's cheap. Given what it can do and the devastation that it has and its capability, that is cheap. Man, yeah, that's awesome. That's even cheaper than I expected. All right. Next, Spacecom headquarters relocation. We've talked about this before. Relocating U.S. Space Command headquarters to Huntsville, Alabama could create 1,700 direct jobs and 3,000 indirect jobs, according to Representative Dale Strong. Discussions with President Trump and Governor Kay Ivey suggest a decision may follow the confirmation of the new Air Force Secretary. Again, you'll know it's going to happen when you start seeing the housing market increase. The house prices increase, rent starts increasing. All of a sudden, inventory of houses starts to go down, because that is people in the know, essentially insider trading, starting to buy homes, or people that are already landlords and they already own property there, making sure they're able to secure their home and look out for their future. So that's when you know. Happening Cannon Air Force Base, looking at all you Chief Master Sergeants and you generals out there that knew that this was coming, and you went and you bought houses, didn't you? And you can deny it all you want, but we all know that you did. Defense budget lethality focus. Congress must reform the DoD's budget to prioritize lethality over inefficiency, duplicative capabilities, and RU's Lucian Niemeyer. A cross-service budgeting approach and clear communication of combat effectiveness are essential to counter adversaries effectively. All right, last one, commercial space integration priority. The DoD and the Space Force's commercial space strategies emphasize integrated commercial capabilities into national security missions to counter China's advancement. Rebecca Cohen Hirsch advocates for accelerated funding and procurement of commercial space services to enhance resilience and optionality. All right, that is your daily drop for today, the 13th of May. Appreciate you joining you. I'll be back to the, you'll be back to all the B-roll stuff, so you don't actually have to see this face made for radio, and then we'll go from there. But do appreciate you joining. Don't forget to visit us over on onesready.com. Get yourself a piece of merch. Also, we have our membership program. So if you want exclusive access to members only stuff, one, you get early access to everything that we have coming up. Like I'll just drop 4 or 5 episodes on members only. It's basically as soon as I'm done editing it, I'll upload it and give you access. And then there's also members only content that just, stays behind members only. I do occasionally release those as like a sneak peek to try and like tease people and draw people in to our members only, just so they get an idea of what we're talking about over there. But yeah. And then also love for you guys to join us out in San Diego for the Operator Training Summit. There are going to be more, right? So if you can't make this one, it's okay. There will be more, but we just haven't announced location or the dates yet, because we're still trying to figure those out right now.